Hi, everyone. Here we are, podcast number 2, Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. Podcast, I'm Mike Singer.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kipp Snow, and we've got a what I think is a pretty decent show and podcast for you today. We got a number of things that we're going to talk about, so we're going to go ahead and get started.
Yep.
And we've got some different segments that we're going to talk about. So this first segment today, we're looking at is kind of our show opener or icebreaker. And so, Mike, second episode. What are your initial thoughts over the first podcast and the announcements and some of the feedback that we got?
Well, it was a little rough, but it was the first one. So, just wanted to get something out there and get it started.
Yeah.
Wasn't really worried about polish,
Sure, absolutely.
You did some great video stuff in the beginning there for us, so that was really cool.
All right, so yeah, I did take your fancy logo. Well, I'm not a graphics person, but
you didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night,
yeah, exactly, yeah, no,
like all the chatters on the camera.
Yeah, I didn't, yeah. So that was I'm not gonna have this thing polished from the edits, but we're gonna do our best on that one. So
yeah, I'm not worried about it. I think what you did looks pretty good.
it's all good. What you had some polls out? Do you want to talk about those polls?
We could. Well, I did a poll. I was thinking about a separate name for the podcast.
Okay.
I've heard other people have podcasts, and the podcast has a separate name, and I kind of thought that would be a cool idea. And to be honest with you, there's been some talk of renaming the Key Bridge, and I'm kind of on the side of I'm not crazy about that idea. Mm-hmm. And I thought it would be cool to put his name in the name of the podcast.
Okay.
So we had a couple that had the word key in it, and there were a few other ones. But the Key Shipping Report is the one that came out the strongest in the poll. I think it was 47%, maybe 50%.
All right.
But there were 5 or 6 options.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the strongest one. I'm not sure if we're going to go with it or we'll just leave it. Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers podcast,
Okay, we'll kind of mull it over then over the next week. Maybe if anybody's got some strong ways one way or another, that's we'll take a look at that. Absolutely. So the Key Shipping Report. We'll have to work on that one.
Right. I was thinking, with a little emphasis, the Key Shipping Report.
All right. We'll also have to come up with a little logo for the front of it, so that'll have some more work. All right, cool.
Right.
Yeah. So over this past week, there's quite a number of things that's happened. I think you're in our bridge update report coming up. Mm-hmm. You're going to give some information on that. This past Thursday, out at the Community College of Baltimore County, the Baltimore Port Alliance hosted their annual hiring event, and this year was exceptionally well received. We had almost 40 companies, just shy of 40 companies who showed up to the Dundalk campus, and
it looked pretty crowded there.
Yeah, it was pretty crowded, and there got some pictures that to show with the about almost just shy of 350 job seekers showed up.
Nice. That's pretty close to a high for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the most that had gotten. So I was pretty. We know that there's probably a little bit more visibility because of the the bridge collapse, but
sure.
Still, people are out there trying to look at what other opportunities may exist. So I know that there were actually a number of on-site interviews that took place with a couple of firms, and a couple there's a number of people who were given offers that day. So that was pretty exciting. So we're still working through the back office administrative side of things. But we're looking to schedule something again for next spring for the group to come back out. So that was awesome. A lot of hard work, but it was very rewarding to see those opportunities presented to the good, the good people who are needing jobs. So
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
okay,
I don't
sure.
want to give you more work, but do you think annually?
Yeah.
Do you think annually is enough? I mean,
Um, this is something. I mean, for an effort that large, it does
yeah,
take quite a bit of planning and implementation. We're starting to get into a kind of a clockwork routine with the Port Alliance and what
Mhm.
everybody has to do in order to make that work.
Great.
There was a right right before the pandemic, I believe we did either right before, right after we had a
I'm trying to
spring
remember.
session and a fall session.
Oh, okay.
And so, but also, we realized that in the second session in that iteration, there weren't as many people who participated. So it was almost
Hmm.
like it was a too much, or maybe there wasn't. Um,
Right.
Going into the winter months, sometimes that there is some economic lag,
Mm.
and maybe there's not as much, demand, or there's probably a number of economic related
Hmm.
situations that may have caused that. But
Gotcha.
with
Gotcha.
it,
Just curious.
yeah. One of the things though that we're looking at is how do we help that process year round, and so the Baltimore Port
Right.
Alliance is looking at ways to be able to better communicate job
Right.
opportunities for the port when we're not gearing up for the actual hiring event. But that hiring event allows those job seekers to come in and actually have some one-on-one conversations that they may not necessarily have when they're just filling out applications or turning resumes in. So,
Right. One thought that I had previously is maybe I could, because I've got a pretty significant website, and it's getting quite a bit more traffic than it ever
sure,
used to.
sure,
I was thinking, I wonder if there was some way to kind of
yeah,
make a job section. I mean, I think we'd have to manually put everything in, or
yeah. I think,
maybe we can find a way to have a form, and then you
mhm,
just cut and paste into the form, and then the code kind of automatically generates the pages or the sections, or I
sure.
don't know. I don't know enough
I
about
think
that.
that there are some opportunities if there is some traffic coming to the Shipwatcher site, and if for anybody who's out there who hasn't gone there, there are a lot of resources for the ship
Mhm.
spotting and ship watching.
Right. Yes,
With some of the
absolutely.
maps and things. I think we can at least put some links out to where these companies are already
No, certainly.
posting those job opportunities. And I know that the Baltimore Port Alliance, which is baltimoreportalliance.org, has
Oh,
all of the listings of all the companies who showed up and what the jobs that are still open.
oh, okay.
So
That's good.
yeah, so we can put those things. We'll put a link in the video here also, so that anybody
Okay.
who's interested can go to that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. It'd be nice if, if you're looking for a job, if you want to work for the port, it'd
Mm-hmm.
be nice to go to one clearinghouse.
Yep.
Now, of course, it would take a bit of work, because every time a new job comes up, then somebody's got to add it to the website. But, I'm just thinking
I
of,
think.
the worker, the job searcher person, you know,
Yep.
instead of checking 18 websites, do they have one place where they can go? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not a practical idea, but
Actually, it's in the works. Where
oh,
that's
okay.
something that what we're doing within one of the committees within the Baltimore Port Alliance.
Oh, okay. All right,
We're,
great.
we're
So
actually
you,
working
you,
on that.
you got it going on. All right. That's
More details coming.
all right. Okay.
All right. Why don't we move on? Now let's go for some bridge updates.
Mm-hmm.
This is our next segment for, and I guess
Yep.
we'll just call it bridge updates. Mike, you got some bridge updates for us?
Yes. Every time this group, kind of beats their projections, I'm just kind of blown away. I've got
Yeah.
to be honest with you. And so when you looked at those pictures, when the bridge is just in the water, and how they're able to get that stuff cleared out, you
Hmm.
know, to be able to, have the first ships go through, what was it, last week.
Hmm.
And then they said, hey, by the 10th, we're gonna be able to get this from 35 feet, which was minimal to be honest, but they were
Yeah.
able to get the smallest ships out to 45 feet, and then they come in 2 days early at 48 feet,
Hmm.
and I was kind of blown away by that. Um,
Yeah,
so
and I mean, I think rightfully, there really is a true intent to really let's get everything back working, and
oh,
I know.
absolutely.
I know that part of the focus, or the goal number one that the governor had set out was let's go find the victims so their families can have peace.
Oh my gosh, of
And
course.
I'm glad that they finally found the last person, and
Yeah,
still we still need to continue to remember that that's a that's going to be a continued impact with those families.
absolutely.
But now we can say, focus on having the channel, because once the channel is open, then it's back to business.
Right,
So
right,
that's yeah, they've really been hustling to try to make all that happen.
right. So some details, like if you looked at the pictures of the bridge, you looked at, so like the camera view that everybody's used to seeing. So you see the front of the ship, and then you see the bridge kind of sitting on the side of it, off the bow.
Hmm.
So there was a section that was kind of coming off the bow to the left if you're looking at the front of the ship on the camera on the live
Hmm.
stream. So part of that had been removed. And then they took another section of the truss, cut it off of the water line, and lifted and took that away yesterday.
Okay.
So that was, and I know everybody doesn't watch the live stream, or and the way things are broadcast on the Facebook group, everybody doesn't always get to see
Sure.
every post. So I kind of wanted to go through
Okay.
some of that, and then they're going to use some explosives to actually break the bridge apart,
Hmm.
and it should fall off the ship. So there's actually a simulation that's out there
Yeah,
that,
that was a cool simulation. Yeah.
yeah, that the government has done, um, and now we've just heard that it's going to be Saturday. It's
I saw that posting right before we hit the right
right
before
before we
we hit
hit
the.
the airwaves.
That's right.
Well,
So
we're recording, so is it airwaves? I don't know. So I think they said the staging at 5, and then I think it'll be done by 5:30.
okay.
So that's pretty exciting.
I think
So
it's
the one,
yeah, maybe explain what you're really dealing with here. We're not blowing the ship up. The ship's not going to be impacted, right? It's
right, right. Well, they have told the crew will stay on board, so it can't be that dangerous. Crew's been instructed to shelter in place, and then there are some. They're talking about if you're within a certain radius. I think it's, I don't know what it is, 2,000 yards, 2,000 feet.
yeah. There was a
There's a map,
post. Yeah.
that you should have ear protection. But if you're at a distance, you'll hear some pops. You'll see some smoke, some flashes. There won't be a big, huge bang or a big, huge explosion, nothing like that. So I think what we're going to try to do is add some pictures to the podcast. If we can, we'll see if
Yeah.
we can get that to work. And it's kind of cool. Let me just do this on the fly. Why not?
Sure.
Let me
Go
see
ahead.
what.
Yeah. But while you're pulling it out, this is a
Mhm.
controlled blast. This is
Yes.
not hey, let's strap a bunch of dynamite to the thing and make a big
Right.
explosion. These are very detailed, very specific charges that will go on each one of the beams and steel for it to control fall into the water to be able to get it off the ship.
Right here. So let me show you my crude drawing here.
There you
So
go.
we'll come up with a maybe if we
With
can
better
get pictures
drawing.
in. So they actually make, this is the I beam, okay, and in the width of the I beam, so they put this like arrow cut
Mm-hmm.
in the I beam, so it's like a slice through the I beam, and then they drop the charges in these holes in the corner. So this is called the web,
Mm-hmm.
and these sides of the I beam are called the flange.
Okay.
Okay. So what they're going to do, and I think what happens is they drop these charges in these holes, and then it'll blow the flange, and then the I beam will separate.
Gotcha.
And they're doing that, I don't know how many dozens of places,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, timed, choreographed, or all
Yep.
at once. And then the whole thing is supposed to kind of go into the water.
Right.
So that
Okay.
we'll be able to, well, hopefully, we'll be able to watch that on the live stream.
Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, so that's our bridge update for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
We'll move on to our next segment called Topic of the Week.
Mm-hmm.
And so our topic of the week will be our kind of our meat and potatoes discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Mike's going to take the lead on some topics that's either that have come up in the Shipwatchers group, or maybe it's something that's happened during the week that deserves a little bit extra attention. So, Mike, what's our topic of the week for this week?
So, topic of the week this week is the Baltimore International Seafarer Center, and
Okay.
all that they do to help out the seafarers that visit the town.
Okay.
And it's a bit different this time because obviously all the ships have been here since the bridge collapse. And to highlight one ship, they are the next to last ship to leave. They left this morning.
Mm.
The JY River was the name of the ship. It was in Curtis Bay,
Okay.
loaded with coal.
Mm.
And because it was so loaded with coal, they needed to wait until the draft, the depth was available for them to leave.
All right, so
So,
I want to hit pause really quick. So if you think back, that there were certain times that certain depths of channels were open and at certain depths, that some of what the Coast Guard in the Joint Command was doing was recognizing multiple fronts here. And correct me if
mhm,
I'm wrong. Not only are we trying to find the victims, and we're trying to get the ship refloated and get the structure out of the way and get the channel cleared out, but we also
mhm,
had ships that were stuck on the inner portion of the harbor,
right,
and they're all just sitting there waiting. And so any cargo that may have been associated with those ships was delayed also, and the people who were
right,
still on the ship. So it's not just the Dali that had their crew on it; it's all the other ships
right.
that still had their crews. So it's a huge moving target to try to get all these all these ships out, and there's the human factor that's associated with it. So go ahead.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about. Um, Reverend Josh Messick, who is executive director of the Baltimore International Seafarer Center. So I said to him, hey, what did you do? This ship, they've been here, the whole time. They're going to be one of the last ones to leave.
Mm.
What was it like for them? What were you able to do for them? Um, and so he had said that they had been visiting them, and they had been going to the store for them almost daily because they couldn't leave the ship. They weren't allowed to leave the ship at all the whole time they were
Sure.
here. Um, and then, one little backstory I wanted to tell inside this story is that, there's a lot that the Seafair Center does for the people that are on the ships, that are working the ships. They come to our town, and they do a lot of important things, but there's also a lighter side of it. So it was the bosun's birthday.
Really?
Yeah. So they took
Huh.
him a birthday cake,
Yeah.
you know, kind of cool. Right.
That
So,
is pretty cool. Yeah.
right. So we're all people. They might be from the other side of the world. They might speak a different language, right? But everybody loves to have a birthday
Yeah,
celebration,
they still had a birthday. Sure, absolutely.
right? So they took him a cake. So I thought that was
That is.
really neat. And he said this is one of the crews where they've really connected with them.
Hmm.
Because sometimes there's a language barrier,
Sure.
or there's um, you know, socially, their
Sure.
people are different, right? What their expectations are, or. So he said they really connected with them. So I thought that
Cool.
was really cool.
Yeah. All right.
So the ship left today through that early open channel that they got open 2 days early,
Mm-hmm.
um, and to travel a 7 week trip to Singapore.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't know if that's through the Panama
Well,
Canal
that
or
was
whether they're going around Africa.
yeah. That
7 weeks, man.
and that's exactly what I was thinking is that, which route are they taking? Are they going through the Suez and dealing with the
Oh,
what's happening in the theater over there,
I
or are they
wouldn't
going to
think.
try to come through the Panama Canal? It still has some water and depth challenges.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah, that we can add
We
that
should
as
hit we should hit that on one of our other segments in the
okay.
future.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All righty. So we will. I think it's also important to help support the seafarers
Yes.
international. So we're going to put their website here, and their website has information on how you can help or donate and help
Yeah, I think
support
there's a
these.
donate page,
Yep.
and on that page, there's a PayPal link,
Mm.
so you can donate one time or you can donate monthly.
All right. Sounds good. So we'll put
Mm-hmm.
that link up also.
All right, awesome.
All right. Um, on to our next segment. Our next segment is going to be there's been a lot of questions or thoughts about the history of the Port of Baltimore. So we know that the port is over 300 years old. We have
1729.
yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that's a number that comes to my head when I see the little sign with the logo with Helen
there you
Bentley's
go.
name on
Yeah,
it. Maybe I'm wrong.
I should know that. But the
Well,
there
we're gonna
are
let me see. Can I just swipe right and get you off of the podcast?
there you
Thank you.
go. Get my teaching credentials revoked because I don't remember. I failed that exam. Uh, the
How could
no,
you?
so we're going to do it. We're going to do a segment on the Port of Baltimore history, and so I think there's a lot of different components. It's
Absolutely.
what things that come to mind, or the connection that the Bethlehem Steel Company had, and all the shipbuilding during World War II.
Gosh, and
There,
three
there's
different facilities here.
Correct. Yeah. So it could be something related to the facilities. It could be related to the different terminals that have that exist. Just a couple of years ago, I was very very fortunate enough to work with Ruckert Terminals, which is one of the largest privately owned terminals on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
They started in 1921. A very unique story. But I was very grateful to be able to participate in their historical documentation of their 100 years and their
Mm-hmm.
celebration, their fourth. And so they created just about 20 or so short videos of their history
Yeah.
that takes
Totally.
everybody through that chronology of time. And
Mm-hmm.
it is housed out on YouTube. It's archived up on YouTube. So we'll put a link for everybody if you want to go take a look at that. And they're in short 8 to 9 minute segments about different eras, and it's really cool to see how they started off so small and then where they're at today. So
Right. Some of the backstories are really interesting.
oh, absolutely, and how
Mm-hmm.
how they came about and how they made things and made things work, and how their terminal moved and expanded throughout time to their current location today. So
Right.
I worked really closely with Mike Wickline in that video series, and Andy Nixon,
Mm-hmm.
out there at Ruckert. To put all this together, so we'll put that link up. You take a look at how the generations worked out there. But we'll also take in some of these segments, I'll write up a little something. The B&O Railroad. I know that you think, oh, that's not maritime, but there's a historical significance of the B&O Railroad as it relates to the Port of Baltimore.
And the
And then,
Western Maryland.
yep, and the
So
Western. So there's a lot of
right.
things that we can pull from. If there's anything that anybody's interested in, like specific topics, or hey, I'd like to know about this, let us know in comments, or whatever you're supposed to say for social media. Leave it in the comments or whatever, and then that way we can go and do some research and see. Maybe I'll do a formal poll or something. How about that? So
Sure, we could do that. We could do another poll on the group.
yeah, just to
Hmm.
see, just to kind of get a perspective on what some of the quick things are. All right,
Hmm.
on to the port calendar. We're going to have a segment for what's happening in the port.
Hmm.
So, uh, Mike, I think that you want to talk about something that actually happened yesterday.
Hmm.
So we'll try to do forward things, but there was an event that took place yesterday. You want to talk about the Trade Point Atlantic open house?
Yeah, yeah, and just wanted to kind of run through a little summary, give some of the numbers that I heard, some significant points that they made. So, if you're not aware, um, part of Trade Point Atlantic, Sparrows Point, they are going to build a brand new container terminal for the MSC shipping line. Well, they're partnered with them, but it's being built for MSC. So we're talking about. Do you remember when there were the big cranes that came through? What was it? September of 21.
Yep.
And so now we're going to get 8 more
Mm-hmm.
of those. So they'll be able to handle two of the largest container ships that we can have here in port, and 8 container cranes. So the the area is 330 acres,
Okay.
so it's pretty big. They're also, I wanted to point out, they're also working with the Maryland pilots.
Mm.
So when you're talking about bringing a large ship into a place where large ships haven't gone into, I mean, we have some rows, so they're roll on, roll off, the big
Mm-hmm.
boxy ships that bring in
Yep.
cars, but nothing the size of, you know, 1,300 meters by 51 meters and holding 14,000 TEUs of containers, right? So, when you're bringing that in and you have to turn it and bring it in and get it off to the side and have room for other traffic to come and go. So they had some maps and talking about how they talk through all that with the Maryland pilots to make sure that the design is right and can work for the future. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Um, the pilots, how do they figure out how to how are they figuring out how to go and maneuver these ships like this?
Oh, I can't speak in detail about that other than, they would know from experience because, we're already bringing in ships this size to Seagirt, right? So there's that loop that the ships come in and they come in, there's like an in and an out door, and they come in this loop, and they, you know, go up to the pier side, and then they go back out the other side of the loop. So they're used to piloting these ships in, restricted channels, if you will.
Sure.
So,
Another component of this is the Association of Maryland Pilots have partnered with MyTags, which if you're not
oh,
familiar with MyTags, it's the Maritime Institute of Technology and Graduate Studies. They're actually located in Linthicum, Maryland, right off of
right,
295, and they have that's the local maritime school that focuses on all of the credentialing that
mhm,
mariners need in order to go out and do the various maritime related jobs. And
right,
so they have a simulator that's
right,
about 3 stories tall in a building, and they can actually go and program what you just talked about, and they
right,
can map out everything that's happening in that channel going into Trade Point Atlantic, and they can simulate these movements and then put in things like rain, heavy seas,
Wow.
You know,
That's cool.
crazy things falling out of the sky that don't make sense, and you know, so that they can, you know, as you know, because when they bring you know, school age kids in to explain it, also they want
Oh,
them to
right.
experience that part of it. But when you walk into this 3-story room, it looks like the bridge of a ship. And when you're
Yeah.
standing outside all around, it's, you know, it's a big you know, big 3-story TV screen. And if
Kind of
you
like an IMAX theater
no,
almost.
it's very close to it. I don't have all of the specs on that, but
Right. Right.
I have been through that simulator and have stood on the outside of the bridge, holding on to it, going with a, you know, going, hey, I'm about to get sick here. So I mean, it's a
No way.
yes, it provides a very realistic feel of how to maneuver these ships. So
Okay, that's it. I want to go. I want to
you
go.
know
I
what?
want to go.
You know
I want
what?
to go.
You know, there may be some opportunities. We'll have to see about that. But it's a really cool simulator that's in there. So
And I'm glad you brought that up because they did show that.
okay,
They did
yes,
show that simulation, or at least a screenshot of it.
out of it. Okay,
So maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll try to pop that in here. I don't know.
okay, sounds good.
So let me see what else. So here's an interesting. Here's something that what I always say on the Facebook group. The thing that may only interest me.
Okay,
Okay,
sure, go for it.
so
Yeah.
here we go. This is another podcast segment. So they're talking about taking advantage of the double stack modifications for the Howard Street Tunnel. What my question is, so they're going to have the double stack machine, you
Mhm.
know, there
Yep.
at Trade Point, and then they're going to, if they're so that's CSX. So if you're using CSX, you're going across that Bear Creek trestle that rotates on the creek there, and I'm not sure if that can accommodate double stacks.
We'll have to go and do ask a couple of questions on that.
Yeah,
Make sure.
that would be interesting to get that answer because are you modifying this old steel trestle bridge that
Yeah.
you know?
And it may be so for the viewers at home, Mike's talking about double stacking containers, and so the whole premise
Mm-hmm.
the whole premise behind what if you've heard about the Howard Street Tunnel, it's a tunnel that was created a long time ago,
Yes.
and so it is not tall enough to be able to have two stackings of containers on a rail car to go
Mm-hmm.
through Baltimore. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the quick answer might be, okay, why don't you just raise it up? Well, you can't because there's city streets and buildings on top of it, so you have to
Right.
dig down. So that's, but what that does is that allows you know, a train engine to be able to pull twice the amount of freight. You start looking at economies of scale related to that. You know, those are trucks
Exactly.
that are taken off of the road, so you
Absolutely.
don't have to worry about the emissions or the traffic, or you know, reduce traffic. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
benefits to this. Um,
Absolutely.
Seager Terminal is going through a process to once the Howard Street tunnel is fixed or dug
Mm-hmm.
out
Right.
to allow for this, that they're ready to go to be able to send double stack rail directly from
Wow.
the port terminal. So
I didn't
what
even. I
what
must be crazy. I didn't even think about because Seagird's pretty compact. There's a
correct?
lot
Yes.
going on in that landmass area. And how are they going to fit that double stack machine in there with everything else that's already going on? So
They've already started the work on that, and I know that
cool.
Ports America Chesapeake's published some documents on the planning and you know what it will look like once it's completed.
All
But I
right, Kipp,
know that they're
your
already in that
mission, should you choose to accept it.
pretty
Not
much.
only do I want to see those plans, but I want to see them here.
Yeah,
I
we'll
mean,
look
if we
on.
can.
Yep.
If we can.
But that'll help explain why this is so why all this is happening and why this is so much more beneficial to be able to make these make these infrastructure investments so that we can help keep that commerce flowing through the port. So all right,
Sounds good.
cool. Also, for coming up with the port calendar, National Maritime Day is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
The National Maritime Day celebrates the first crossing of a steamship
Mm-hmm.
crossing the Atlantic back in the 1700s. It was called the steamship Savannah. That
Ironically.
Yeah, ironically, so we know where the nuclear ship Savannah got its name.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing some research, nuclear ship Savannah was a project from President Eisenhower to show that nuclear power could be used for peaceful means. And it was a designed cargo cruise ship, and so part of it was
Mm-hmm.
for cruise operations from that era, and then
Mm-hmm.
from cargo. The nuclear ship is the nuclear components have been removed somewhere out in the desert in the west now. But the
Utah, I think.
Yeah, so the rest of the ship is being cleaned up for the next step that MARAD's going to do with it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we're going to have our commemoration on Sunday, May the 19th, out at
Yep.
Pier 13 in Canton.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the event goes from like 10 to 2, 10 to 3. We'll put the
Yeah, I
flyer.
had 9 to 3 in my head, but we'll double check that.
Yeah, I've got the flyer that we'll put up on the screen here so that everybody can take a look at it.
Perfect.
The commemoration is on board the Savannah, starting at 11:30.
Mm-hmm.
Take about 30 to 45 minutes or so. Come out and celebrate and commemorate the mariners who worked out throughout history. If you
Mm-hmm.
can't make it out, there will be a YouTube broadcast of this ceremony, so that'll be pretty exciting.
You might know somebody that's involved with that, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I'm doing I'll be doing the recording, so we'll see if it really how well it goes. But
If it gets out there.
yeah, if it gets out there. But we've got it set. We'll have the YouTube links there for anybody who's interested in for viewing pleasure. So
Awesome.
that's coming
Very
up.
cool.
Um,
Sounds
uh,
good.
Mike, you got a couple. I think two other things. I think you got Fleet Week's going to be coming up here shortly,
Yep.
but I think you also have a history cruise. Is that right?
Yeah. So last year I did this 4 times. So the Woodwind cruises out of Annapolis, they
Hmm.
have twin 72-foot sailboats
Oh, cool.
and they go out on cruises all the time. I think they're almost daily, twice a day.
Okay.
Um, but they started to do a thing on Monday, um, Monday history cruises.
Hmm.
So I got talked to them one day, and they said, "Oh, would you want to come on board for a Monday and do history of shipping in the Chesapeake Bay?"
Hmm. Okay.
And I don't know if you know this about me, but when it comes to the port and the ship watchers, I don't turn down opportunities. So I
Okay.
said, "Heck yeah, I'll do it." And then it was time to cram and study
Yes.
because we've been following a lot about what goes on here at the port for the last 6 or 7 years.
Hmm.
Real time, current. But was I up on my ship history in the Chesapeake Bay? Well, maybe not. So anyway, Monday 6:30. I'll be on board, and we're going to talk about history of shipping in the Chesapeake Bay, and probably a bunch of current events,
Okay.
obviously.
Cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine that is gonna come up. Is there? Do they have a website or a place
Yes,
to?
they do. If you look up Woodwind Cruises Annapolis, I'm sure that will take you to their website. I think then you look up daily cruises and then look up Monday. You can look up the exact date
Okay.
and buy tickets.
I think for the viewers, we can go find that while we're doing the edits
Yeah,
on this, and
I'm
we
sure
can
we
knock
can.
that out. Yeah. All right.
We'll edit that in.
All right. Um, do you have some information on the Fleet Week? If not, we'll go
I
ahead and. I'll go ahead and find that, and we can post the Fleet Week
I
information
know,
also.
I can't really talk much about it. I know there's some flyovers, so
Yeah.
um,
Well,
probably not what
we,
people think. Not the Thunderbirds, not the Blue Angels. None of that is happening, but some cool flyovers. And then it's all wrapped around like Father's Day weekend.
okay.
So mainly Father's Day weekend, but I think it starts like the Thursday before and goes to like the Tuesday after.
We'll get some.
Hopefully, we'll be getting some ships in here, which will be really cool. Some military ships, some other ships visiting. So
We'll get
yeah,
some
it'll be awesome.
information for the viewers on that.
Oh yeah, the information will be coming. It's the information about the specific ships typically comes in closer to the event, and then obviously this year maybe even closer to the event.
Yeah, there's probably going to be some impacts related to the bridge. So,
Right. Right.
all right, I think that about finishes us up for today.
Yeah, I think so.
So in our closing, any final thoughts before we send everybody off here?
Right, right. Just wanted to remind everybody. So obviously, there's the Facebook group, Baltimore Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. There's a page. We have a website, the BaltimoreShipwatchers.com, which is full of port information, maps, all kinds of information about the port. There's a link to the webcam live stream,
Yeah.
which is the camera that wound up filming the bridge that
Yeah.
crashed into, that the whole world has seen
Yeah.
10,000 times. And we're also on Twitter, well, X, and Insta as Balto Ches.
Okay.
So shorten up Baltimore, Balto, and then Ches for Chesapeake. So
Nice.
Balto Ches on Instagram and X. And
Okay.
I think that's about it today. So I am just going to say happy ship watching.